Good morning, North America. Welcome to Church Talk TV. Lively talk about life, church, and church life. I'm your co-host, Dr. Bill Tenney-Britton, and I'm joined, as usual, by my co-host, Dr. Kris Tenney-Britton, and we're broadcasting from our studio in Columbia, Missouri, the heartland of America. Say good morning, Kris.
Well, good morning, and welcome to Church Talk TV.
Kris and Bill Tenney-Britton here today to talk to you about the invite process. And we're talking about the nuts and bolts today of how do you invite people to church? And even more importantly is, how do you get your congregation, how do you train your congregation how to invite? Because we know there's a problem there.
Well, and that problem is that 60% of our members are not inviting people to come to the online worship. And I say people, it's not like it's people. It's not their friends, their family,
yeah, they're
relatives.
not inviting anybody.
I mean, right, they're just not inviting. And since last week's episode on the invite process and the 4 processes effective churches have in place, we've had these questions. Well, come on, Doctors Bill and Kris, how do I get people to actually invite others to come?
And so that's what we're going to talk about this issue. But before we go into the nuts and bolts of inviting, I got to say this. The number one reason people don't invite is because they're not very excited about what's going on at church.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
That's all right. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say they wouldn't be there themselves if somebody wasn't watching them, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they're not excited about what's going on. Now, there's a couple of things they may not be excited about. First is, and we're talking about right now about online worship, but first the reality is that if the quality isn't what it's meant to be or should be or could be, if the quality isn't like, woo-hoo, if you're not running neck and neck with any other really great YouTube video, then who's going to invite them? The second thing is the content, though, is if the content doesn't match what their friends or family are looking for, if you're still using antiquated in-house Christianese language that is, only there for Christians, invocation, prelude, narthex. Okay, you're not using that if you're not in real person worship, but
Yeah, you do. It's called the waiting room.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Zoom room, narthex. Yeah, that could be. Yeah, but all these words and terms, and we sing holy, 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 and here I raise mine Ebenezer, and people are going, wait a minute, Christmas was 2 months ago. Why are we singing about Scrooge now? Yeah, really. So so if the content isn't matching, isn't relevant to the people who would be inviting, they're not going to invite them if they wouldn't understand. And then finally, the biggest one here is results. If people are going to worship and their lives aren't being changed, if something isn't transformational within them, why would they bother? It's just another television program. And let's be honest, most churches aren't that entertaining. And so, when you're running neck and neck with American Housewife, your competition's American Housewife or some HBO movie or whatever, it's like, yeah, church worship is meant to be transformational. Bible studies are meant to be transformational. And if they're not transforming lives, people just don't invite to it.
Well, if I can,
Yeah.
I think that word transformational is another one of these words that we toss around in very churchy kind of ways. I mean, let's take that down. If your life isn't changing, if something isn't different about you, if you can't say by Saturday how your life, how you've lived the week differently than you were living it this past Sunday or Saturday, you're not seeing results. So, it's when you're able to say, oh my gosh, I heard this message and I wasn't even sure I really liked the message, but it really made me think. And so, I really, this week I've been trying to do this, or I've been doing this differently. And that piece, is it interesting? Is it relevant? Is it, can you do something about that? And is it authentic? I mean, authenticity is another huge piece to this. So when I watch something and the quality may be somewhat off, or, it may not be
right.
like you would see on a TV station, and you all have heard me if you're with us at all. I use Joel Osteen as an example, and I don't do this in a maligning or ugly way at all. It's just, that he's on TV, they've got cameras down pat, the whole 9 yards, and very few of our congregations are able to do that, have the experience or even the technology. aside from all of that, though, is it authentic?
Right. Yeah. People will buy into authentic and real way before the quality of the show. That's right.
Joel helps to do that.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, go ahead.
And so which comes back to I want to shift and talk about, when you're going to invite someone, we need to pre-qualify.
Yeah.
The reality is that so often we just say, hey, we want everyone to come to church. Would you just please come to church? I want you to worship with me. And it's like, yeah, that's great, but why? And the person you're asking, do they have any need that is important enough that they want to get there? You have to invite a prospective guest to something that your prospective guest might find valuable. If someone's going through a divorce, inviting them to the sermon series that your preacher is offering on how to survive being single, or or how to cope with divorce in your life, or if you're grieving, is there a grief series? So really, it's this pre-qualifying to invite people to something that they're interested in. One of the reasons why our invitations often don't work is because we're just inviting people to things that they have no real, it's like, oh, that's nice. I really hadn't thought about the Trinity before. I don't know that I'm really concerned about what the Trinity is, or atonement theory, or those kind of things. People need to know if they go to a church, if they're going to a worship, including online, that they're going to get something out of it.
That makes a difference and just doesn't make it that in their heads. And to speak to pastors, this is one of the reasons that you really want to have your sermon series charted out, that people will know. You need to make sure that your Facebook, and I know we're going to talk more about social media invitations, but you need to know what's happening this week. You need to be able to do the handoff to next week. So, hey, next week we're going to be talking about this or that, this and that, so that they know back, so that our people are able to say, okay, who is it that I want to invite? Whose life do I want to see changed because of that message, or whose life might be different, or who might feel better, or whatever, if I invite them to that. That's this pre-qualifying. So, we pastors, or whomever's leading worship, whoever leads worship, or a small groups, Bible studies, or whatever, you have a plan and get that out there so people can do this. I'm going to veer off script for just a minute, because we do have a helpful tool called the 5 Most Wanted list. And it's a way of listing 5 people that don't have a relationship with God. Some of us are more comfortable saying don't have a relationship with a church, but you have 5 people and you're praying for them every day. And you're praying for yourself too. And one part of that prayer is, give me an opportunity to invite. So you're looking for those people. You're not inviting all the people to everything, and it's getting us geared into a mindset, an attitude of, oh my gosh, there's an opportunity because they're going to be talking about that this week.
All right, so let's move into talk about the how to invite, the basic principles of the invitation. How do you invite people to whatever, what are the nuts and bolts, to why they want to come?
Right. Well, simply it starts with why would they want to come?
Yeah,
so,
sure.
To what are they coming? It's like birthday parties. I remember being a little girl in a birthday party. So why do you want to come? Because you can come help me celebrate my birthday.
And there'll be cake and ice cream and games and prizes, or whatever.
That was a big part. It wasn't that. I think my mom and dad trusted people were going to want to come because I was having a birthday party. It was going to celebrate me, and I wanted gifts. Woo-hoo. It's like, this is why you want to come, because you're going to have a great time while you're there. But
there's a difference between a general invite,
yes,
and a targeted invite.
Yes.
If you go and invite, use your birthday party as an example. If you go to your school and you invite, just put a sign that says everyone come, well, for one thing, you'll end up with too many people. Right. But the reality is another piece though is that a lot of people aren't going to come because they don't know you. Right. They have no idea who you are, and it's just like, why would I go to Chris's birthday party? Because the same thing goes here. Is you've got to, why do they want to come, and the general invitation versus the targeted invitation. The targeted invitation again is inviting the right people to the right event. And I just can't say enough about that. That's one of the reasons, and one of the main reasons why our invitations so often fall on their face, is that we're inviting people to church and nobody wants to go to church, but they'll come and listen to a series on, we did one on alcohol in the Bible, and we ended up with a whole lot of folks that came from AA because they wanted to hear and learn about what does the Bible say about that, and what tools does it give us? It was targeted to a group.
Right. Okay. And so, part of that is you have to believe that the person's going to be excited to come. And I got in a lot of trouble, 20 years ago, by saying this in a group of ministers. If you're not excited to be there, then you need to be somewhere else.
Oh, that's true.
If you're not excited, and that is, maybe we've already said that, but that's not a number one. That's a big reason we don't invite people, is because we're not excited. And quite honestly, I'd be embarrassed to invite somebody.
It goes back to what we said earlier.
Right, yeah, because if I'm not excited, you're not going to be excited, and I lose face. And quite honestly, we generally only get one opportunity. If you do it and it failed that day, we're not going to get another opportunity to invite in that general way. So it's you need to make sure that you've got this excitement, and that that they're going to be excited too.
All right, so now some real concrete stuff.
Okay.
The how-to part, the social media. How do you use social media to invite someone? And probably your people in your congregation, your members, probably know all this, but just in case, because there's always things and nuances that people don't know. First thing is, it's on Facebook and Instagram and pretty much all of them, you can do a direct message invitation. You can send an invitation online, social media, directly to your friends or your followers or whatever the current nomenclature is on whatever social media platform you're using. But sending a direct message invitation saying, hey, Bob, I'd love to have you come because, and we'll talk about the because in a moment. There's also tagging. And tagging is not as well known, but tagging is, it's like a hashtag and you put out a name, or is it the at? No, it's the at. You put the at sign in the name. So at Kris, and her name will pop up, and now that invitation or post or whatever you have goes directly to their timeline, and it becomes as a real invitation. The reality is, if you can get your people at the church doing direct messages and tagging, the response could be phenomenal.
Yes.
If you can get them to do it.
Oh, yeah, if you can get them to do it. But, that also says if you're, at the beginning of the service, I see this done, and I see it done very well. Hey, stop right there. I know you got your phone nearby.
That's right.
Go ahead and shoot that
share,
message,
tag, check in,
message
whatever,
them, do whatever with them, and give the moment to do that. And if you're praying into that, again, to be able to say at the close of a service, hey, next week we're doing, we're going to be talking about, I don't know,
XYZ,
alcohol, right?
And
it's going to be interesting. Be thinking about who you're going to tag next week.
Who do you know that needs to hear this message?
That you can invite, and that you'll be able to tag at the beginning of the service next week, right?
Right. Or before the service starts.
Or before the service starts, right? But when the minister when the service starts says, hey, be sure to tag or whatever, they will have it in there.
Right.
So
just real quick. So
ahead.
Pastor, I really recommend you need to stop in the service and say, listen, pick up your phones.
That's what we're saying.
And just write out. Pick up your phones and tag someone. Who do you know that needs to hear what I'm about ready to say? And you can, again, I'm going to talk about alcohol, or I'm going to talk about forgiveness, or whatever it is. Who do you know needs to hear that? Tag pick up your phones now. Really, I'm not pick up your phones and go from there.
But I really want to bring home that you are already the week before lining that up, because your guests that are there, that's really who you're talking to. Hey, pick up your phone, blah, 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 in those instances. But for your members who've been there, it's just a reminder.
Right, exactly.
Do it. But you want them to have been thinking it through, because why? We're targeting people, right? Okay, well, hopefully your church is creating an event on Facebook, not just doing a post, but create an event. You can do that on Facebook. You can use Eventbrite. I don't know.
There's other event creation sites.
Meetup. I don't know if you can get away with it on Meetup.
That's
Maybe.
that's a
I
different
don't-
kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe you
can do
so
events
one of
on
you can
Meetup.
tell us, does Meetup work for this?
We'd love to know that.
Yeah.
So, or another creation site like that. So you can use that invitation as an actual invite and create personal invitations to people. Get your people to make
Hi,
personal.
I want to invite you
That's
too.
the other thing.
Right.
I just love that. Hey, Martha, I just was thinking this. You would really like this, so I'm inviting you. 10:30. Follow it up with an email. Send them a text right before the day before the service. Stay on top of it.
Exactly. All right. I just want to. We want
Wait, I need to say one last thing. And Pastor, we're not talking to you to do that. We're talking to you,
not you
to
only.
remind people. We're talking to you leaders in the church. We're talking about people who are not leaders in the church. They're the ones. You're the one sending the invite. You cannot leave this up to the minister. If the minister, pastors out there, if you're inviting anyone, it needs to be one of your friends that hasn't been coming. But you're not doing the general invites.
Right.
And if you are, stop.
All right. So finally, when you create an invitation, a really good invitation has a couple parts. But the first part, again, like you said, you're excited. But tell your invitee, tell the person you're asking why you're going. I'm going because X, Y, Z. I'm going because I love this and it's going to be meaningful in my life. And then here's what I expect to get out of the event. This is why I'm going. This is what I expect to hear. This is what I expect to come away with from this event. And finally is why you think the friend that you're inviting would want to come. Listen, I know you just went through a horrible thing. You lost your job, and we're talking about how to regroup and restart life. And I hope you'll be there because I think it's going to be really meaningful. And I'd love to be with you, even if it's online. I'd love to be with you so we could, watch this together or participate together and etc. So, yeah.
And one of the things that I've been doing for months and months and months before COVID started locking people down, I would go to a friend's house. Our membership is at a church that's not in town, and I would go to their house and we would watch the service because they were running an online opportunity as well. So I would go there. But when everything locked down, we stopped being together. So they didn't know Zoom or anything about Zoom, but I taught them. And so still today, all this time later, they get on Zoom at their house. I'm on Zoom. We put Boxcast, or sometimes we watch on YouTube, wherever, and we watch the services together. And it's great because we can talk in the pew, and nobody knows it at all.
There we are.
All right.
All right. Hey, we are totally out of time.
Yeah.
I want to just let you know that there's more with this and for this on our hospitality video training. You can get it at the Effective Church group, effectivechurch.net. And yep, that's right. The link's right there. And with that said, hey, we're out of time. We'll see you next week.
Have a great week.